Hey guys, so I had a longer drive from work today and figured I would spend a third of it listening to the new Archspire record. And I don't know why I did it. I knew what I'd be getting, but this band is pretty important right now. They're the media darlings of the tech death world, and I understand why. It's your typical guitar pyrotechnics, and you have your metalcore chugs. You have the whole recipe for the entire modern metal audience to leech onto. But my main issue with this band is, despite the fact that they try to come across as having more to their musical aspects than other bands in this genre, they really can be boiled down to two very basic influences. The first one that comes to my mind is the band Brain Drill, which got popular like maybe around 2006 or so. They were a bunch of deathcore kids that flirted with death metal aesthetics and ended up having Gravity Blast define most of their songs. And if you were to talk to a Brain Drill fan, they would talk about how fast the drumming was, as if that shit matters. And there's that band, and there's one song from the Spawn of Possession record, Noctambulant, the last song on the record, Scorched, which has this pseudo-neoclassical part in the middle that sounds very frenzied, and it works in a tongue-in-cheek way as that album's closer. But if you build your entire sound off of that feeling that you get off of that string of notes, you end up having a very one-dimensional product. And that's what all of their music is. It's very one-dimensional. And we can go back to, let's talk about Brain Drill for a minute. If you don't remember, that's the band that broke up when they got their assholes fingered by the cops after getting busted at a border somewhere. And what's hilarious about that is that, most death metal bands wouldn't use that as an excuse to break up, but it proves that this kind of mentality that goes into making this kind of music is one from a very weak individual standpoint. A real death metal band isn't going to get their assholes fingered and stop playing music. But this record, being 31 minutes, it feels like you're getting your asshole fingered by an authority figure for a half hour. And it kind of brings to mind the idea because, if you come into that idea, you're like, I might be into that a little bit. The idea sounds kind of enticing, but after minute 5 of the same bullshit, you realize that it's just not what it's cut out to be. And another aspect of what makes this so difficult is just how that feels so stretched, painfully thin in that 31 minutes. The very basic aspect of their sound is just so drawn out and exhausted after just a half hour that it feels like exercise, and that's because that's what it is. It's just Hal Leonard core exercises for a full half hour. It's just taking scales and then portraying them as riffs and calling it a song and then having chugs interspersed just to give it some kind of skeleton. That's all that this is. And the best thing about exercise is the idea that it ends. That's why you have, old products like 8-minute abs. But this is like 31-minute ass, because it's ass for 31 straight minutes. And I know that 31 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, and it's really not, but when you hear their whole tonal palette be exhausted in that first couple of minutes, you realize that you're just in it for the long haul. And the arrangements that they have, their note arrangements, all of it is boiled down to a very simple across the fretboard type of arrangement where they just move up 3 frets and move up 3 frets and move up 3 frets, so you get like your thirds and your tritones and your octaves, and it has this sinister metal sound to it. Most death metal is built off of that scale, but when all they do is just take that entire scale of 16th notes and just chop up the arrangement of it, or don't even do that and just have it go the same kind of upward and downward motion, then you end up having that Hal Leonard core exercise bullshit. And no one wants to listen to that in death metal. If you look at what their riffs look like if you look at the avatar that I use for my channel, the sweep arpeggio with the international no symbol around it, that's what all of their riffs look like. But in between that shit, you'll have your open notes. That's all that this shit is. And that's what's so disappointing is a band like this. This band is currently coasting off the back of their guitar player who has this huge social media presence. He makes guitar videos every fucking week. And you would think that for someone who has such a foothold in the guitar world that he would have some semblance of riffcraft. But he fucking doesn't. There's no riffs here. Almost at all. There's one kind of groovy riff in the second track that is slightly okay. It's a little nauseating feeling, which I like. And the title track has like a pedal tone type of riff where it's doing that light and dark thing where you have the high note and then you go down to the low note, high note to low note. They keep the high note pitch constant, and they modulate the low note underneath, which is a successful way at building colors to your sound, to your riffs. And that sounded cool. But everything else is just fucking scales and chugs and speed. You know, speed is cool when it serves a function. But what is the function here? If all your shit is just hyper blasted speed, you don't have anything to give importance to it. But what they do to intersperse a little bit of dynamics here and there is they put in these ethereal clean passages that are just really fucking boring. At least it's not that Strymon filter bullshit that every deathcore guitar player uses. But it's still, there's nothing happening in these passages where it feels like it is providing an actual contrast to the song to flesh out the full sound of the band. It feels like it's a diversion. And the reason it feels like that is because as soon as they hit these passages, after a couple of minutes, they just slam a fucking hyperblast right after, it'll be like in the middle of a measure, just to throw you off guard. And that's another issue with this band, is they operate on the same wavelength as Between the Buried and Me, where the whole concept of the band is the audience being like, ooh, I wonder what they're gonna do next. And that cheap fucking parlor trick bullshit shouldn't be the staple for your whole fucking presentation as a band. It's really disappointing if it is. It's just parlor tricks. It's just a shitty magician. You know, do you want that in your timeless metal music? Do you want it to be some shitty drunk magician with like fucking a sling of handkerchiefs falling out of his sleeve and, you know, all that kind of garbage that you see at a terrible improv show, like that kind of shit? Is that what you want? I don't. This like, I could see this being impressive to young people for, you know, a listen or two. Or maybe you'll jam it for a week and show your friends and be like, I'm listening to the fastest, heaviest, you know, whateverest shit out there. Don't you want to hear what I'm listening to? Don't you think I'm cool because I'm listening to it? But beyond that, there's nothing here that warrants repeated listens. There's nothing here that warrants a career. And this band was recommended to me years ago because I would like look up that Swedish band Anata on YouTube, and it would say for fans of Anata, and it would play this band, and I'd be like, what fucking planet do you think that this is even remotely a similar band? Just because it's pseudo-technical, you know? Maybe that's all that there is in comparison. But on the whole, like, it's unfortunate because it's ticking the right boxes for the modern audience. It's making sure that you have your open chugs, you have your sweep picking, you have all of the talking points, but you don't have any substance. And if you're trying to glean for riffs in between all the sweep picking, you're not going to find them, because they'll do like power chords that will just move up and down and up and down and up and down to the same fret and back, and then they'll intersperse it with sweep arpeggios, and it's just, there's nothing there. There's no melodic sensibility. There's no actual development in the music at all. And it's really unfortunate. It's like if you were in, let's say you were in a class with the guitar player, Dean Lamb, and you had this burning desire to get a message out that you wanted to use the genre of metal to have it channel you through it and get this message out to the world, and all you wanted to do was to hone your talents a little bit on the guitar so that you can get your message out and have the world hear that you have something profound to say. Now, picture that you have that guitar player from this band in your class, and you're looking at him and he has all the talent in the world and he feels like he's got a leg up on you, and you're looking at him and you're jealous, and of course you are, because you have this voice that can't be heard. And then you see him excel and you see him get all the technique down, and then you think, okay, all right, he's in the same wheelhouse as me. He can probably get the message across that I cannot, because I'm not that great at it yet. So you look forward to what he can do. He has all the talent, all the skill. All of the members do. All of the members are really insane at what they do. So it's as if they have all of the tools at their disposal, and what they create with it is a shiny piece of fucking dog shit. That's what it's like. And the rest of the metal world that has toiled at their craft and knows that they can showcase substance to an audience using this medium is going to look at this and realize that it's fucking garbage. And I want everyone to understand that. That's why when I shit on these modern bands, it really is just taking the very basic aesthetic of metal and portraying all of it's as if you have your weaknesses on display because you're trying so hard to impress an audience. You're taking all of your weakness in that, oh, I need to have them see that I'm the fastest. I need to have them see that I'm the most skilled. Where's the message underneath? Nothing. It just showcases that you're weak. You know, the harder you try to get something across and have it not be natural, the more weak you're going to appear. And not a lot of these bands are going to understand that because they're going to have the rest of the fan base just licking their assholes all the time because it sounds complicated. It sounds busy. It sounds like if you took all of the practice in the world and you finally got where you wanted to be in terms of skill. And that's what a lot of guitar players nowadays are going to look at the instrument to do. They're going to look at the instrument and be like, this is the end game for what practice on this instrument can be. And they're going to look to this band and they're going to totally neglect what that instrument can do for them. And that's really disappointing. But there's not a whole lot else to say. I mean, it's 31 minutes of genre tropes. It's just disappointing. And a band like Inferi, I gave a fairly decent review to because they belong in the same wheelhouse as this, but they have a little more depth to them. You could tell that they have a presentation that's fully fleshed out. This is just weakness on display, and the times when you almost get a metal vibe out of it and you can almost feel like you're getting into some kind of experience, they take you out of it by having these hilarious comedic elements like the vocalist accenting every bit of the phrase. It sounds cool, but it's fucking funny. And if you want to look at how to use a pinch harmonic effectively, you look at Robert Vigna from Immolation. You can have that guitar wail. It could sound fucking tortured. Here, the pinch harmonics sound like Murderface from Death Clock when they bleep his swear words. And, it's funny. It's just fucking funny. And there's a time and a place for Dark Gallows humor in metal. It can work sometimes, but not here. None of this works. And people will ask me, like, why don't you just not listen to it and focus on stuff you like? It's because as long as this kind of shit takes the limelight, the further we're going to move away from what good metal can be. And this band is super in the limelight, so people need to attack it before it grows further. So if you keep watching this, the beatings will continue until metal improves. Thank you for your time.